So in a surprising revelation, Shigeru Miyamoto apparently told Eurogamer back in July that Pikmin 4 is in development and very close to completion. The interview was under embargo until very recently, but that is all the information we know. We don't know what console it's for, the release window they want, any details about gameplay or anything, just that it's coming and it's almost finished.
Yeah, that actually is a big surprise. I didn't think they'd make another Pikmin so soon.
I kind of did. I'm not surprised to hear this. I am surprised in the way we heard it, and I'm surprised... I mean, it's just something I didn't expect at all, but hearing it, I am not at all surprised.
I suppose.
So, do we think this is for Wii U? Do we think it'll be like an NX launch title? Or could they finally make that 3DS spin-off Pikmin that they've been talking about for years?
I don't think a core entry in the series is going to be a 3DS thing. I think that's going to be more like a smaller game or a remake of the first one or something like that. I think if it's Pikmin 4, it's going to be home console. Question is Wii U or NX, and I could see it going either way.
Maybe it'll be a cross-gen title.
Yeah. I mean, that actually wouldn't surprise me if the bulk of next year's lineup were NX cross-gen titles, not just Zelda like we've been talking about.
Right.
Also, this seems like financially kind of a good move, even though Pikmin's not a big seller, just because they took like 5 or 6 years to develop Pikmin 3, and that's a lot of resources for a single game that only sold, like 1 million copies?
Yeah.
So, but now they can presumably use that same engine with maybe a few tweaks and produce a sequel pretty quickly and pretty affordably.
Right.
Which, will sell 1 million copies, again, with a much, much smaller budget.
That's kind of a good lead into my biggest burning question, which is how are they going to follow up Pikmin 3? Like, is it going to be a fully cooperative campaign, or are they going to focus more on a more competitive online multiplayer type of thing, since it is a strategy game?
Also, would be great.
I'd love to see that be the focus.
I was recently on Game Explain did a discussion about Pikmin 4, and I was on that with Game Explain and the BitBlock, and Josh Thomas mentioned the dungeons from Pikmin 2, how much he loved those. And I don't personally like the dungeons very much. I like playing them, but I didn't like how intrusive they were on the campaign. But we came up with this idea of a separate dungeon mode, where it's sort of a roguelike. He was thinking maybe even they could have a dungeon editor, which might be too robust for Pikmin 4, especially if, like Ben, you said, they're probably trying to do a low budget thing. But point is, a side mode where you can do the dungeons, and that being its own robust thing for people who like those, and then having the campaign, I think that could be really cool.
Yeah.
I would love playing dungeons if it were in that kind of setup and not as part of the story.
Well, yeah, the dungeons that we got in Pikmin 2 are more gauntlets, which, like you said, was intrusive, especially since the game itself was very exploration-driven. I personally would love to see dungeons more integrated with exploration, where maybe a dungeon actually is a pathway to a different part of the map. And maybe you discover new zones by going through dungeons as opposed to just upgrading your ship. Like, there's a lot of things that I'd love to see them do with dungeons that actually integrate them better into the single player.
It's fair. Hello everybody, thank you for listening to this Nintendo Week clip NWC. If you like what you hear, please subscribe to us here on YouTube for more highlights and discussion videos from Nintendo Week podcast, or subscribe to us on iTunes for weekly breakdowns of all your Nintendo news, discussion segments on subjects, games, and more, and tons of other features. Thanks for listening, and we will see you tomorrow with another NWC.